can switch off our video also. So over to you, Dileep sir.
Ashutosh ji, yeah, good
Started the
evening.
recording.
Yeah, good evening and welcome. Ashutosh ji, will you run the presentation on your laptop?
Yes, I will do that. I'm ready with
Uh,
that. And I'll
so,
start sharing my screen whenever
yeah,
you say.
yeah. So this is how we will do it. Ashutosh ji will run the presentation from his side, and I will do basically a ball by ball commentary or slide by slide commentary. So Ashutosh ji, you can start sharing the screen.
Can everyone see my screen?
Uh,
Yes, we can.
Yes,
y-
yes.
you are not on the first slide, Ashutosh ji.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, thanks. So welcome once again. And as has been mentioned, this is about photography, photographers, and photos. And we will come to a dancing fox later on. Next slide, sir. So we are doing some expectation setting regarding this presentation. So I will tell you first what it is not. So first of all, it's not a tutorial. We are not talking about how to take photos. It's not a technical presentation. So we are not talking about cameras and lenses and terminology. It is also not going to be completely, exhaustive in facts or in selection of photographers or photographs because of the time constraint and limited resources. And simply put, what it is basically a celebration of the art of photography. And in a sense, my tribute to its acknowledged masters. That's what it is. Next slide, please. Next slide, Astoji.
Some actually let me share it once again. Some problem because of which I was not able to change the slide. So
Okay.
okay, I'll share it once again. Sorry about this.
No issues. Yeah, this is the slide. Third one. Yeah. So you may think that the photograph on your right is a caricature, but actually, I have come across many such people in my associations with a lot of photography groups on Facebook and even physical ones, where people most of the time these people talk about cameras and lenses and what kind of shutter speed somebody is using and what technology is the latest. And there is very little talk about the photos that they have taken or the display of their photos. So basically, the kind of definition, which is basically a tongue-in-cheek definition, comes out of this kind of group. So I will just read out the controlled acquisition and encoding of electromagnetic radiation reflected or emitted by a scene onto a photosensitive medium or digital sensor, followed by quantization, processing, and rendering into a perceptible image. Now, this kind of definition may, please physicists, but most of the people will have the kind of reaction that you see on the screen. So we will junk definition and we will move on. So Basically, I mean, what I want to share with you are some insights, not definitions, which illuminate one or other aspect of photography. So, photography is a love affair with life. Burke Uzzell is a professional photographer from America, and he was the youngest photographer that Life magazine had hired in 1973. He was only 23 years old. He has a vast body of work, mostly in photojournalism. So basically, he is talking about that intimate relationship that photography, has with life. It covers all its aspects, ups and downs, lows and highs, and so that is what uh, basically is it, the intimate relationship with photography and life. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So Peter Adams is a British photographer, much traveled, much awarded. In 2023, he was as just the best travel photographer in the world. And he is talking about a recurring theme in photography, machine versus man, or the technical side versus the artistic side. And this theme will recur from time to time in presentation also and in live. Incidentally, this is the first photograph. Can we just go back to the last slide? I just want to say one more thing. This is, incidentally, this is going to be the first of many Taj Mahal photographs on this. And I want you to look at it. And maybe at the end of time with this, I will discuss what is remarkable about this. Next slide. So Dorothy Lange was a photojournalist and documentary photographer in America. And she is talking about one of the ability of photography, which is making a fleeting moment in life immortal. Some of the photographs which I have taken are still remembered by us. And Dorothy Lange is particularly known for her depression era photography. She brought the misery of depression by her photography. She is very well respected in America. Next slide. Steve McCurry is a living legend, and he is also talking about the same thing, making a fleeting moment which will otherwise not be noticed immortal. He is also talking about the elements of universality in across regions, and there are certain things which are universal, and photography is one of the ways of uniting them. Next slide. Henry Cartier Bresson is in the master segment that I have, and we will discuss this more in detail. He is talking about the quality of a good portrait. A good portrait should bring out the unspoken, the unsaid, which is the mood about the person, about the environment. And incidentally, this portrait is of Ezra Pound. I don't know where he met him, but this is his portrait that he had taken. Next slide. The great Raghu Rai. What can we say about him? He is again coming back to the same theme, man versus machine. That which is, there is a camera which is a medium, and there is a man with his vision, with his skills, and both are complementary. But the one thing has to be acquired in different way, whereas probably learning the technicality is easier. Next. These two slides are basically I am covering the history of photography, which is roughly 400 years old, in two slides. So this cannot be very comprehensive. It's more like, that what you see from the aircraft at 30,000 feet, but pretty interesting. So light sensitive material were probably known earlier also, but in 1614, an Italian doctor, Angelo Sala, incidentally, Sala is not a term of endearment I'm using, it is actually his name. He wrote that the powdered silver nitrate turns black in light, and the paper wrapped around it turns black in a year. That was 1614. Now, why this is important? It is important because without the knowledge of light sensitive material, photography would not have been there. At least the analog photography would not have been there. And I don't think if analog photography was not there, digital photography would have come out, because digital photography was built upon the various development which had already taken into analog photography. So from 1600 to 14 to 1826, that was a time when a French gentleman, Joseph Nicephore Nice, we will call him Joseph N for convenience, made the first photograph. In the intervening period, especially in the 18th century, later half of the 18th century, a lot of experiments were done to capture photo or to work out how a photo can be captured, but they were either not successful or they were not permanent to be recorded. But all those experiments contributed to the first photograph, which was made in 1839. So that was done in a very different way how we do it now. Just briefly give you an idea how it was done. So he took a polished plate of an alloy pewter, PEWTER, and he coated it with bitumen paste, which is a petroleum product dipped in lavender oil. And then he put that alloy plate in a kind of a pinhole camera and exposed it to light for 8 to 10 hours or even a day or something. And after the plate was exposed, he took it out and then he removed the unexposed bitumen and did another some chemical treatment which was developed. And that is how the first photograph was made. That photograph is still preserved in the museum in France. Joseph N had an associate whose name was Louis Dagger, and they were working together, although they lived in separate cities, and they were working together, corresponding regularly with each other for taking the research further. However, Joseph N died in 1933, so Louis Dagger took it forward, and in 1839 he came out with the first camera which could be taken out and taken photos with, or even in the studio atmosphere. He gave a demonstration of it in 1839 to the French Scientific Society, and later on he gave his designs to French government in lieu of a lifelong pension for him and for the son of Joseph N, who was his past associate. French government on its part allowed anyone or any country which wanted to make that camera, except one exception. And that is how that camera, design traveled to other countries and other countries started working on it. The exception was England. So, and that speaks about the relationship of England and France in some way. Meanwhile, in England, they were already also doing experiments on photography and camera. So in 1851, His name was George Ascot Archer. He was a sculptor and he made the first camera. And this was, in fact, a better camera than Louis Daguerreo's camera, which was known as daguerreotype. Is the negative plates were better. And there is a mention that Lewis Carroll used this camera and wrote about it also. Although I couldn't find that document that Lewis Carroll wrote. Meanwhile, the developments are going on, and across the Atlantic in America, George Eastman, that name should be familiar to everybody. George Eastman, in a place called Rochester near New York, or maybe part of New York, developed what we call the complete photographic process. So what it means is basically that the roles were separate as we knew them. The camera was separate and the processing of photography was done offsite. It could be taken to a lab and done. In the daguerreotype cameras, the development had to be done immediately after taking the photo. So that and then we know that process we know continued up to 1970s or so. Kodak camera came out in the market around 1888. Can you go to the next slide, please? And they launched a mass camera, Brownie. Brownie, in fact, was a very famous brand. A lot of people use it across the world, and but it in a way democratized photography. It was priced at $1. And the famous tagline which went along with this was that you press the button, we will do the rest. And if you recall, around the same time, I think in 1908, another gentleman in America, Henry Ford, democratized motor cars by his Model T. They're very close to each other. So color photography was introduced again by Kodak, the company that Eastman started in 1907. And that process, fundamentally the same process, continued till 70s and 80s, when in 1973, Kodak hired an electrical engineer. His name was Stephen Sasson. And that's a major inflection point in 75. And he was given basically what they call a CCD, charge coupled device, which could convert light into electrical signals. And his brief was to see what he could do with this. So he was in R&D, so he knocked about, scavenged a lot of old cameras, developed on it, and he came up with the the prototype or the first what he called a filmless camera or self-contained camera, which did not require film and which did not require processing. Basically, a prototype of digital camera that we know. So the story goes, or the legend goes, that we showed it to the top brass of his company. The reaction that came was, "This is cute, but don't show it to anybody else," because they were probably, fearing the major disruption in their business model. But as they say, good idea, whose time has come, cannot be stopped. So parallelly, uh, developments went on in digital camera. And the first megapixel sensor, again developed by Kodak in 1986. And that launched the digital camera boat in the sea. The first mobile phone with camera was developed in Japan in 2000, and the first mirrorless camera was developed by Panasonic and Olympus in 2008. And we are still in that era, digital and mirrorless, although the mirrorless cameras are now taking over. Digital cameras are being slowly phased out. So that's 400 years of journey in two slides, more like traveling in bullet train with some milestones. So next photo, next slide. Okay. So I will show you the development of photography again with some milestones and some important personalities in India. So photography came to India quite early in 1840s, actually, almost immediately after the cameras were invented. They were brought here by East India Company for basically, taking photography records of lands and architecture and people and ethnography. So, and initial camera people, photographers also were employees of East India Company. But at the same time, because India's reputation as an exotic land had reached the West, a lot of freelancers also started coming. And we owe it to them basically for the historical record, photographic record of late 19th century of India, the details that they have provided through their photographs. Three names are prominent, and I will show you some of their work, very little amount because not even fully representative of what they have done. So next slide, Ashutosh. This is an Anglo-Italian gentleman who came to India in the immediate aftermath of 1857, the first battle of freedom or Sipahi mutiny, whatever you want to call it. And he went to all those places and took photographs. And we know a lot of details about, especially the kind of weapons they used and the kind of dresses they had and places after the devastation through his photographs. So next slide. Uh, Requires no explanation. The mass hangings that they did in large number. This is a photograph of Lucknow immediately after the 1857 battle. And you can see the signs of devastation on your left. The gate that you see on left is the gate to Residency, which was basically the camp of the British resident in Lucknow, and his army used to stay there. Next slide. This is again Lucknow, somewhere near Gomti, and there is a mansion showed on the bank, probably by someone, some aristocrat or rich person. Can you just go back? Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is okay. This is okay. No, sorry. Sorry, the next slide. Okay. Yeah. And the boat that you see was used by wealthy people for boat rides in Gomti. This building, I don't know whether it is still there or not. I'm not sure. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, give you a sense of the period. Cannons being pulled by elephants. Note the dresses of the people in the picture. Next slide. This is Queen, one of the portraits that he took of Queen. It's not Hazrat Mahal because I've seen photographs of Hazrat Mahal. Hazrat Mahal was far more beautiful. Next slide. Oh, this is interesting. This is residencies. This is one of the buildings devastated in 1857 inside the residency area. And he must have taken this photograph. So you see those, cannonball marks and bullet marks on the building. And the next slide. And this is the photograph that I had taken in 2019. I and Kumar had gone to Lucknow and those places. And uncannily, I realized that I must have stood 160 years later, very close to where Felis Beto must have stood. He was probably a little more to my right, judging by the photos, but very uncanny. Next slide. This gentleman, another Englishman, Samuel Bond, uh, he came to India and he was here for 10 years only, but he was very busy. And he also set up studios in Calcutta and I think in Calcutta. By the way, the commercial studios had come up by 1850 in Calcutta and Madras and Bombay, and they were offering services to the rich and wealthy. So Samuel Bone also was 7 or 8 years. He traveled extensively across India, took a lot of photographs, and the prints of which were sold like hotcake in England and other places. We'll see some of his photographs. Next slide. I think anybody who has read William Dalrymple's book Last Mughal will recognize this. This is Bahadur Shah Zafar in captivity. Next slide. This is a hunting expedition, Prince of Wales. So that adds a color of history into this. And those gentlemen, the tiger. Next slide. This is Jal Mahal in Jaipur, sometime in 1860 or 65. And I mean, the one thing which I wanted to point out that just look at the clarity of the picture. This was taken 150 years back with the cameras which are probably obsolete now, but the foreground is very clear. The subject is very clear. Even the background is fairly clear. The print is bad because I took a screenshot. I could not download it, but remarkable photography. Next slide. Another Taj Mahal. And again, look at the clarity of the picture and the composition. Next slide. This is Haridwar from the other side of the Ganges. And it must have been summer looking, judging by the condition of Ganges. Next slide. This is Manikarnika Ghat and the temple at the back, you know, right end of the photograph, they were made by Sindhyas. And if you go now, if you have gone recently, you must have seen those temples. Temples have tilted like Leaning Tower of Pisa. Next slide. This is Himalayan Railway of Darjeeling. What a great composition. Next, please. I like this photograph. I like it very much. Is the composition and the timing when he took this photograph. He must have taken care to observe when the light falls, where it goes, and how does it fall. And he has taken you see the light coming from the right side and the shadows touching the other side, the roots of the trees. Is a masterful composition. Ellora Caves. Next slide. This is Lucknow. I think Rumi Darwaza, although the photograph didn't say so. So we come to the Indian gentleman in that era, Lala Deen Dayal or Raja Deen Dayal. The title of Raja was given to him by Nizam of Hyderabad. He is Dada Saab Phalke of Indian photography, a great pioneer who took photography at that time. And he was a resident photographer to Nizam of Hyderabad. And through him, he must have met the British royalty and other viceroy because he had was loaned out to them also for taking their photos in India. He has also traveled extensively in central India. He was in fact commissioned to do so, and he took a lot of photos of landmarks and architecture, things like that. So let's come to the first photo. I want to spend some time on this. This is basically the kind of cameras they used in those days. And this is a very close variation of daguerreotype camera. On the right end that you see of the photograph, the lens was fitted. That was the place where the lens was fitted. And the back plate which you see there, where the negative was mounted. So negative in those days was basically a glass plate, 8 inches by 10 inches, which was coated by light sensitive material. So they were, by that time, dry plates had come, so some kind of a gelatin of light sensitive material was coated on the plate, and the plate was fitted. So you see all those levers, which was basically to move the table on which it was standing, and also to move the lens to and fro. And the back plate of the lens are covered by bellows, which didn't allow the light to enter. So photo, can we, and the photographer would stand behind him in his studio and he would cover himself with a black cloth. I'm sure you must have seen photographs of that or seen those people. And then he would take photos. And this equipment, the camera and the backplate and the stacks of glass plates which needed to be carried outside, all those things weighed around 30 to 40 kgs. And they were to be carted in bullock carts or some other similar transport. And imagine he traveled all over India with that kind of thing, of course, with porters and assistants. And that is how he took photographs. In comparison, my camera with the biggest lens weighs less than 1 kg. Next photo, please. Another Taj Mahal photo. We know all this, Buland Darwaza, and so clear and detailed. Ellora Caves. So this is basically he traveled to all these places and preserved his photographs. Must be of great value to historians. This is Jhansi's fort in the background, and this is how probably the army ki rasad travel karti thi, bullock cart and all that. This is how they used to travel. So another period photograph. This boy is the ancestor of Honorable Minister Jyotirmay Scindia, one of his he traveled to royalty and he was loaned out by Nizam or took a lot of photos of princes and kings. Next, please. This is Prince of Riva, and uh, presumably in a tutorial class, his fellow students are there, and probably his tutors are standing at him. Give you a sense of the period and how the princes lived. Next photo. This is some army battalion, and the headgear and the uniform is matter of interest to historians or filmmakers who want to make films of that period. So, okay, so we are coming to the second phase of Indian photojournalism and photography. Photojournalism was the main thing in those days. So basically, Indian photographers had come up by that time, and since that was a time when the independence movement was on, in fact, in full force. So they were all, and these guys were hired by newspapers which had come up by that time. So they were doing photojournalism. They had recorded history being made. They have witnessed history and they have recorded history, as you will see when you see their photographs. So next photo. Next, yeah. So three names which are very prominent: Omai Vyaravalla, Kulwant Roy, Sunil Jana. We'll take one by one. Omai Vyaravalla, aka Dalda 13. So she is Amchi's Mumbai's Mulgi, basically, although settled in Delhi. She was a pioneer. She was the first woman photographer, a photojournalist of India. And the Dalda 13 came because she was born on the 13th of the month. She met her future husband when she was 13 years old. And the first car that she owned in Delhi was numbered DLD 13. So she made it Dalda 13 and the name stuck. Let's look at some of photographs. This is immediately after the 1947 Declaration of Independence. So if you photograph is not very good, but if you see in the center, that's Lord Mountbatten with his arm raised, and people who had come out in the street, and he must have been very brave to come out in public like this at that moment. Next photo, please. Yeah, this is the first flag hoisting, first ever in India. All worth preserving. First cabinet meeting of Jawaharlal Nehru. So I'm sure we can recognize many faces here. Maybe only one or two which cannot be recognized. Next slide. This is Dalai Lama crossing over from Tibet to India in his ceremonial dress through Nathula, and she was there to record this. First Republic Day parade. This is one iron lady with another iron lady. And if you see the cameras in the hands of people in the right, I remember my father owned one of these cameras. I'm sure you will also remember the camera that maybe your father had or you had in childhood. Next, please. This is the cremation of Mahatma Gandhi. And the person who is standing behind the funeral pyre is Mahatma Gandhi's third son, Ramdas. Historical moment. So Kulwant Roy was a contemporary of Saravalla and equally famous. He recorded again all those happenings which are there. He was particularly is known for taking photographs of Gandhi and Congress sessions. And so if you see his photograph, when you see, you will recognize those photographs immediately because they have been displayed so many times. I didn't know it was actually taken by Kulwant Rai unless I went into it. Next photo needs no explanation. This photograph is also, I think, has seen by everybody in one of the Congress sessions, the Troika. This also is a photograph which is very, very famous. In fact, in Attenborough's movie, a scene was recreated with exactly the same tableau. This was probably the last meeting of Gandhi with Jinnah. Sarojini Naidu, Gandhi with Frontier Gandhi. And we come to the third name in this segment. So Sunil Jana was also a photographer of that period. He was from Bengal but he migrated to USA later on. And he recorded all those events also. In fact, after independence also, he was, taking photographs of the industries and the factories which are coming up, what Nehru called the temples of modern India. But he is particularly known for his searing photography of 1943 Bengal famine. And he brought the misery of the people to public's consciousness through them. Next photo. One of those photos of famine. Another one. I love this composition. You know, that precise moment when he had taken that shot where everything seems to be as if choreographed, but it is not. Extremely beautiful photo. All the factories which had come up, as I said, he photographed a lot of those. Another factory scene, maybe material transported to harbor. For he also photographed a lot of tribals. He went around India and photographed a lot of tribals. It is one of them, somewhere in Bastar, I think, because he had taken a lot of photographs in Bastar. So we come to the last section of this. This is from 60s onwards to the present date. And other branches of photography had come up, the artistic photography, the commercial photography, the fashion photography, all those, in the meantime, all the events which happened, various wars and famines and, the tragedies or even triumphs were recorded by these people. So I am acutely conscious that I have included very few names. There are many more which are not included in the slide, and which probably and for all these people, I can take a full day session on them. So in this, sorry, just 1 minute back, please, Ashutosh. I just wanted to mention one thing. So the last three names, Dar Yasin, Mukhtar Khan, and Chani Anand, they were awarded Pulitzer Prize in 2020. After the abolition of Article 370, when the internet was suspended in Kashmir, these three gentlemen went around at personal risk and photographed Kashmir. And they took it out and published it out of India. And they were awarded Pulitzer Prize for that photograph. They were from Associated Press. I think it's still, I don't know what they're doing now, but this is an interesting bit of history. Next slide, please. S. Paul. Paul Saab, as everybody called him, so elder brother of Raghu Roy, his mentor in the earlier days. In fact, he set him up on the journey of photography, although accidentally. He is one of the most awarded journalists from India. In fact, in 1971, he was declared the best photographer in the world by Nikon's survey. He was the first Indian photographer to be profiled by the British Photography Society. In America, there's a magazine called Black and White, and they profiled him and they called him the Henry Cartier-Bresson of India, although that tag is not necessary. He was also, there was a book of best ever black and white photos, and 5 of Paul Saar's photos were included in that book. Remarkable photographer, as you will notice when you see his photographs. Next slide, please. Now, look at this photograph for one moment. Uh, the light is falling on burqa and creating a different kind of effect on it. All the faces in the photograph have same emotion but different expressions. And I don't know, because this is not a contrived photo, I don't know how this black background was achieved, either whether the wall was black or whether it was done photographically in some way. I don't know the technique. And remarkable photo, remarkable masterpiece. Next photo, and this is my absolute favorite. Look at the place. This must be in Agra or somewhere. The filigree around. He chose the time of the day when the shadow would fall from the right side. The pattern made on the floor, the silhouettes at the door, and where he positioned himself. An absolute masterpiece. Any photographer would be proud to claim this as his own. Next one. This is a poignant photograph, and must have been a very personal one for him. It is his wife's portrait, and she is holding another photograph of her younger days. It's a beautiful, beautiful composition. Now look at this. This is what is called, the timing when you take a photograph, especially in street photography, because nothing is choreographed, and the camera is focusing on the eye of the baby. His face is partially visible, but the eye is very clear, and the way he has made this composition. This is Paul Saab taking a photograph of a mochi. I have seen his photographs lying completely flatly on the ground, on the road, and taking photos. Next photo. Other photograph. Yeah, I don't know where he is taken from the balcony, probably. Okay. Yeah, we can go to this. That's Raghubir Singh. My regret is died very early. He died somewhere in his 50s in 1999, and he is another master. I have looked at a lot of photographs of his and taken inspiration. Raghbir Singh was different from his contemporaries and predecessors in one way. He advocated colors in his photos. He said, you cannot think of India without color. India is all about colors. And he took bold, vibrant photos full of even extravagant colors. So we'll look at some of them. He incidentally, in that short period, published 14 books of photographs, and some of them are taken from that book. Next slide, please. Now, this is another masterpiece and my absolute favorite. I just want to tell you a couple of things about this photograph. Looks deceptively simple, but it's not. First of all, if you see the framing of the photograph, that tree in the background, tree in the right side, a nice touch with buffalo, and the hut on the other side, the people gathering in the center, and you can see the mud building in the background. So fairly good depth of field. And the focus subject is, of course, the two girls on the swing on top. Now, when you are photographing a moving thing, I think if Kumar is there, he will verify. You need to have a very fast shutter speed. And typically, a shutter speed for this kind of photograph, if you're capturing this, will be a thousandth of a second or maybe more. Now, the problem is when your shutter speed is so fast, the photo will turn black. So, how did he manage it? So my guess is, and or at least the way I had done it, of course, I'm not comparing with Raghuveer Singh myself. It's a pendulum going up and down on the other side. So as we know, the pendulum at the top end of his journey stops for a fraction of a second. It's completely still. I think Raghuveer Singh had taken this photograph when it was momentarily, at still. So he did not have to jack up his shutter speed. And that is how the photo was taken. This is my guess. I don't know. I will find out if he had described this somewhere. But a masterpiece. Next. This is what I was talking about, the extravagant color. I think if it is in Jaipur, I have seen this car somewhere. Although it was painted pink. I have a photo of that also somewhere. Next photo. Extravagant, beautiful colors and photographs. Next. This, I think we all know in Mumbai. This was taken from, this is actually on the cover of his book on Mumbai. That book is titled Mumbai. And we know all this. Another street photograph has captured a scene. I could talk about Raghuveer Singh for the whole day. This is taken from his book on Ganges. There's a photograph from there. Next photograph. Okay, so we're coming to the last person in this segment, and his name is Kishore Parekh. Kishore Parekh studied photography in USA, but he came to India in 50s, I think, late 50s, and he was working with Hindustan Times. He also, along with his contemporaries, saw the Chinese War, Pakistan War, uh, and Bangladesh War. He is particularly known for his photography in Bangladesh during the Bangladesh War, or that War of Independence for Bangladesh. Let's put it this way. The important thing is that he went unsponsored on his own, on his personal risk, and took beautiful. I will not call those photographs beautiful, but revealing photos. And he wrote a later book on Bangladesh, A Brutal Birth. So let's look at some of his photos. If you look at this photo, analyze this must be have been taken somewhere in Bangladesh. See the shoe on the foreground and the two persons holding gun. So you can imagine the kind of risk he was taking. Any bullet anywhere from anywhere could have come and killed him. Next photo. Yeah. So this was probably taken in one of the refugee camps, the Bengali refugees who had come to India. Next. Mukti Bahini, I think soldiers in Bangladesh. The injured soldier being carried on shoulder. Look at the composition. Look at the face expressions. This is a photo of Jawaharlal Nehru, and he's not sleeping. Actually, he was in a Shok Sabha, and Kishore Parekh to this photo. Next one. On the banks of Ganges. So he had traveled around and taken a lot of photos also of other things of interest. Okay, so that is this is actually my last segment of the presentation, and we will be talking about some of those masters who's created, immortal work. There's no other way to describe it, and they continue to influence photographers. I am also acutely conscious that there are probably another 10, 15 names which could have been included, or they can walk into any list of photography grades. But time is a constraint, so I've taken four. And I would have loved to include Raghu Rai also in this. But since we have recently seen so much of Raghu Rai and so his photos, so I thought I will take another person who's relatively unknown in India. Next slide. Okay, so Ansel Adams is widely known and acknowledged as the father of landscape photography. He started photography sometimes in the early 19th century, and he took photographs of American West, which is also probably which has a striking landscape. And he was a pioneer also because he developed his own technique of taking landscape photography, because early in those days the fashion was to take landscape photographies and make them look like a photo, like a what do you call that, painting, to give them soft hues and diffuse focus and all that. He started taking very sharp, very clear, stark photos. He was a noted environmentalist also, and he furthered the cause till his death through his photographs. So we look at some of his photographs, not even representative, very small number. Next slide, yeah. So this is a monolith with moonlight. And remember, all those people in those days were carrying those bulky cameras. Next slide. Unfortunately, I could not download it. There was a paywall. So I took a screenshot. So the on this not good, but the kind of topography he was following, the kind of landscape, and then look at the clouds in the background. Masterpiece of composition. Next slide. Another one of similar kind. This is a lovely photograph. The composition is masterly. The way the river is captured and the mountain in the background, and those bushes. What we call layering in the photograph. Next slide, please. So another, I think the same mountain taken from a different view. So this is, in fact, is known as the first ever selfie taken. Took his own photograph and see his camera and a tripod that he was carrying. I unfortunately do not know when it was taken. Next slide. So we are coming to Henri Cartier-Bresson. I have mentioned his name a couple of times, and the Frenchman is again acknowledged as one of the founders of street photography and photojournalism. He is a master of timing in street photos. Timing is very important, and what he called candid observations. So he coined an expression which is called the decisive moment, that you take a photo when everything is just right. And Raghu Roy and Raghbir Singh have acknowledged influence on them. Another remarkable thing about him is that he stuck to one type of camera, which is a Leica 35 mm camera, very small, and he photographed all his life with the same model or similar camera, very small. So another thing which I wanted to tell you, that he came to India a number of times. The first time he came in 1948 on a commission from Life magazine, and that was time immediately after the independence. So the photographs that I have taken are from basically that trip. Although later on he came again number of times, and his series of photographs of Kathakali dancers are masterpieces. But I don't have in this presentation. So let's go back to the next slide, please. This is after the killing of Mahatma Gandhi. So he's told the story like this, that he had come and met Gandhi in Birla House before the prayer meeting and took his photos and went away. And incidentally, do you know Gandhi used to charge for his photographs? He used to charge token money. And then he was going back. So suddenly he found a lot of people moving in the opposite direction, running. So he got down from his bicycle and inquired. And then he came to know that Gandhi was shot. So he came back and took this photo. Next slide. This is a photograph of Nehru on the same day. So he looks shell shocked in the photo to me. Next, the people who had gathered for the funeral and throwing photographs. So that was a particular thing about Henry Bresson. He used to take photos of people surrounding, catching the expressions. And that is why Raghurai said that his view of a scene was very different from others. Next photo, please. This is an absolute masterpiece. Absolute masterpiece. Lovely photo. Look at the composition and the timing when he took this photo. Next photo. Another, people who had probably gathered for the funeral procession or cremation. Expressions on the faces of people. Cremation. Let's go to the next slide. Cremation. Next slide, please. Look at the expression though. He caught expressions so well. So, okay. So next man is Fano, the Chinese master. Uh, Van Ho is, by his admirers and critics, was called a poet of light and shadow and geometry. His photographs have with their magical interplay of light and shadow, strong lights coming, shadows created, and shafts of light, fogs and mist. His photographs of post for Hong Kong in 50s, and they are absolute masterpieces, all of them. Just look at them. Next, yeah. This probably his best known photograph. So just take a look for 5-10 seconds and see his mastery. First of all, the background and the proportion of the girl in the background, and that absolute triangle of shadow. This photograph is called approaching shadow. The shadow must have been traveling, and in that direction, the girl is standing. This is probably his most widely circulated photo. Next one, please. Another photo of a man and on a boat, and what he had many times, one of the rules that novices are taught is that don't shoot into the source of light. The photos will become black. But these are masters who can break any rule and still create masterpieces. Next photo. Look at this. The shafts of light, shadows, people moving, mesmerizing. Next photo, please. Again, shooting in the direction of light and see the shafts of light coming. All this. And the people, ghost like people coming down the stairs. Yeah, magical. Other black and white photo of Fan Ho on the street, Hong Kong. Next, please. Okay. So see, Hong Kong, the harbor, mist and fog. He used them to his advantage. He used them to his great advantage and took photos. So we are coming to the last person in the master segment. Steve McCurry is a living legend. He is still active. I recently saw his photos when he had gone to China, and I'm awaiting his photographs very eagerly. So Steve McCurry is a person. He was a photographer in America, of course. In 1984, when he found that his career was not moving as he wanted it to move, he took a fateful decision. He took his camera and came to South Asia. And he came to India, he went to Pakistan, he went to Sri Lanka, and he went to Afghanistan. In 1984, if you remember, Afghanistan was a very disturbed place. And he took photographs which made him instantly world famous. So another thing about Steve McCurry is that he is like Raghbir Singh, a very strong votary of colors. His photos are bold and vibrant and colorful. And his portraits are, riveting because he has always managed to catch the eyes of his subject in a masterful way. You will understand what I'm saying when you see his photographs. Next photo, please. Look at this portrait. Look at this one. The bright red turban, the eyes of the man, and the uh, lovely bouquet at the background. Masterful portrait. Next slide. Yeah. Holi in India. Nothing can be more colorful than this. Again, the photograph is not very good because I took a screenshot, or the slide is not very good. Photograph is excellent. Look at this portrait. The eyes and the against the red background and green wall and yellow window, and he celebrated colors. Next photo. Now, I think all of us have seen this photograph earlier also. This is in Afghanistan, and this girl's name is Sharbat Gul. And when I was discussing this presentation with Ashutosh ji, he told me a very interesting story. In fact, I will request him to, tell that story himself. Ashutosh ji, if you can please unmute and tell that story. Ashutosh ji? Okay, so we'll do it probably later. So there's another photograph. Or can you do it, Ashutosh ji, right now? Or yeah, okay, I think he's going there.
I'm sorry, I had muted myself from and the screen was not visible to me. So, sir, it is your presentation, so why don't you go ahead
Okay,
and
okay. So
talk
I
about it?
will, I will basically what I will tell him. I will do that. No problem. Yeah. So basically, that eye that you see, and they were captured, and she was put on the front of cover of National Geographic. And when she migrated 17 years later, she went to Italy. So one side of the story is that she didn't know in Afghanistan she was famous, and she landed into Italy. She instantly came to know that everybody probably seemed to know her, and her identification was done basically on the basis of the iris. This was captured on the photograph, and so clear this photo is. Can we go to the next slide, Ashutosh? Look at this photograph. As so it was on his one of his later trips, and I think this is also a very famous photograph. And look at the expression on the face of the man. In fact, Steve McCree had sometimes said that he got so carried away taking photographs in the flood, he almost drowned. And lovely photograph. Next page, next slide. This is somewhere in China. But look at the composition, that framing and that arching, bridge and all that, and this timing when he had taken this. Next one, please. This is in Rajasthan, and he said that there was suddenly a desert, storm came. So all these ladies were working nearby. They huddled together and they started singing. And when the storm was over, they dispersed, and he managed to capture that scene so well. So, okay. So I think we have come to the presentation part of it. So, but since this is my presentation, I will tell you something about my connection with photography. So, it's a hobby to me in the sense that I don't do it for a living, but it is my abiding interest, and I invest a lot of resources into it in terms of time and effort. And obviously, that would not have been possible without the emotional connect that I have with it. My photographs, even though they are not perfect or not great, I still have very strong connection with them. I call it a spiritual experience because I am, you know, happiest when I am taking photo, and all kinds of thoughts and worries and vanish. All physical aches and pains and niggles melt away when I'm doing photography. I'm at peace with myself. So that's the spiritual connect. And for the last part, I would just one moment, please. Yeah. I would like to read out a passage from Ruskin Bond from one of his books. I was out very early on a summer morning, and there suddenly at the edge of a clearing was a fox dancing all by himself, up and down on his hind legs, bending like a rainbow, swinging his brush in the sun. There was no vixen near. There was no vixen near. The birds were not interested. Nobody in the world cared. He was doing it for his own pleasure. Perhaps writers such as I are really foxes, dancing their own particular dance without any thought of a watching eye. I think it describes me also to a great deal, or at least my photography. So I will show you some photographs of mine. They are not perfect, they are not great, but they represent me in some way. So next slide. This is Munshari, and you can see Panchachuli, peaks in the background. What I remember about this photograph is the acute cold because it was a month of December, and I had come out at 5 o'clock in the morning in the hope of catching the first rays of sun, biting cold. Unfortunately, the sun didn't come out, it was cloudy. But this is one of the photographs of that time, 2017, I think. Next slide. This is another early morning photo of Kodaikanal in a much more comfortable surrounding. Next slide. This is a sunset photo, Mulshi Dam, which is near Pune. Next one, please. This is Pamban Bridge. I think we all know that, which connects the mainland to the Rameshwaram. Unfortunately, there was no train on the track, but I like this photo. Next one. This is in Bavaria, Neuschwanstein Castle, one of the topmost tourist place in the world. And the castle that you see in the center, of course, a small one. So the story is that in Germany, you cannot stop in the middle of the road if when you want to. So I told my son-in-law to stop the car. Unfortunately for me and him, he found a place where he could stop the car. So I took this photo. So actually, all my photos are basically taken on the fly because the family is there, and I don't have much time to set up gear and uh, set up compose and all. Next slide. This is a lucky shot and one of my favorites because we were coming back and we were in the car, moving car, but although not at very high speed, and the light was fading. So I took a chance shot. It came out well. Next photo. This is Banaras, needs no introduction, from the Shashmekh Ghag, a panoramic shot. Next one, please. Another shot of Ganges from the boat and life on the Ghat. Next one, please. Yeah. This is Girgaon Chowpatty, 6 o'clock in the morning, month of December, sometime back. So I had gone on basically a photography trip with some of my friends. Next one. Uh, Sometime back in Germany, I did a series of black and white landscape, and I titled them Desolation. So that was theme. So, in fact, I made a couple of prints for summer friends who wanted it. Next one, please. This is one of my earliest photographs. The only noteworthy thing is, the perspective, the framing of it through the foliage. Next one. Yeah. This is again a photograph taken on the fly. We were coming from Gir to Mumbai, stopped at Junagadh. I saw this, stopped the car, got down. Everybody was glaring at me, and I took this photo in a couple of minutes, and this is how it was taken. Next one, please. This is inside the residency. So this couple, I took their photograph with that framing of those walls, and I wanted to pose. I wanted them to pose for me, but they didn't. Next one. This is the Bada Imam Bada in the evening. All those minarets, silhouette. Next one. Yeah. This is Jantar Mantar. I like its structure, so I took this photo. Striking. Next one. There's a street photograph in Munich, uh, and I like the attitude of the man. I liked what he had written there. Next one. There's another photo in Munich. So this was a platform. We're standing at one end. That old lady was standing in the sunshine there. And there's a shaft of light which was coming through the gap between the train and the platform. So I did a hurried composition and took this photograph. Next one, please. There's again on that Girgaon Chowpatty trip. Next one, please. Yeah. There's a portrait of a small girl was selling balloon. So she wanted to sell me a balloon. So I said, I will not take balloon, but I will take you a photograph. So we gave her some money and then took a photo of her. Very unself-conscious, as only kids can be. Next. This is from Banaras. What I found striking was a man was, sleeping in that sunshine, and it was quite hot, I remember. We were at Ramnagar Fort in Banaras. Took this photograph. This is a photograph from Kanpur. So this man, probably destitute, was sitting there beside a temple, but it was very dark. So there was a road in between me and the man, and the vehicles were moving. So I took this photograph from the light thrown by the headlights of moving vehicles, and it came out well, actually, I think. Next one. There's another candid photograph from Kanpur. Another one from Thane, candid photo. Uh, this is, I think, for the restaurants in BKC. So I found this lady. I found those posters very interesting. They're all from, some of them are from American classics. And this lady was sitting alone there. So took this photo. I like the mood of the whole thing. Next one. Selfie takers. This is, I think, policemen relaxing, as everybody has a right to relax. Marine Drive. This is from Fort. I found it very remarkable that this man could sit quietly and read the newspapers while people are moving around him. Another candid photo. I think this is the last one. Okay, this is the last one. Yeah. This is from Jaipur market. I think Raghuveer Singh would have approved of this. So many colors. This was incidentally taken with a mobile camera. I think we are done. Thank you everybody for your patience. If you haven't fallen asleep,
Lovely, sir. Mesmerized. Though I am, I was privileged to see all these slides much before others could see, but and I can see already the hands are being raised, and the first one is Arun, sir. But sir, you'll have to come at the end also. So let's start with you. Arun, sir, you can unmute yourself.
दिलीप दिलीप दिलीप
yes sir.
कुछ पॉइंट्स मैंने नोट किए हैं। पहला
जी
तो रिएक्शन है कि आपके इस सेशन पर ही मैं कम से कम एक 3 पेज का आर्टिकल लिखना चाह रहा हूं, सिर्फ इस सेशन पर।
इस डिस्कशन पर। हाँ अच्छा
पॉइंट नंबर 2, ये शायद
जी
हम लोगों का 60वां सेशन होगा 3 सालों में। पहला सेशन है जिसमें इतने हार्ट्स और तालियां उठी हैं आपके सेशन पर। मुझे नहीं लगता है कि इसके पहले किसी भी सेशन में इतने दिल खुल करके तारीफ किए होंगे आपके। हार्ट, देयर हार्ट्स
I
ऑल ओवर।
I am grateful to all of you who are present, who took time and are here.
नंबर 3, आपने शुरू में एक कोट, बहुत सभी चीज बहुत अच्छे थे, काफी लवली कोट्स थे। उसमें था कि यू नीड अ डेप्थ ऑफ आई एंड डेप्थ ऑफ फीलिंग मच मोर देन डेप्थ ऑफ अ कैमरा। तो
Yes
उसमें
sir.
ऐड करने की मुझे इच्छा हुई कि ऑल्सो नीड अ डेप्थ ऑफ हार्ट एंड आई टू सी द फोटोग्राफ्स, एंड यू हैव that depth of eye and as well as the heart. Otherwise, the session would not have been as beautiful as it was.
Thank
नंबर
you sir.
4, आपके जैसा आदमी जो कबीर पढ़ता है, गालिब पढ़ता है, मीर पढ़ता है, रघुवीर सहाय पढ़ता है, अकबर इलाहाबादी पढ़ता है, तो पढ़ते पढ़ते ही कवि बन जाता है। आप शायर तो हैं ही। तो अब मुझे मालूम पड़ा कि उसी गालिब और मीर के सीक्वेंस में आपने जो इतने फोटोग्राफ्स देखे हैं, इतने मास्टर्स को, शायद कहीं ना कहीं वो आपका इंस्पिरेशन रहा हो।
Thank you sir. Thank you sir.
I mean, I know there are people like Rakesh or even Ashutosh or Jhaji who are much more eloquent than in expressing. So, and I will leave it to them. लास्ट एक छोटा सा पॉइंट मुझे लगा, जब मैं न्यूटन पर रिसर्च कर रहा था तो मैंने देखा कि उन्होंने जो टेलीस्कोप बनाया था उसकी सबसे बड़ी खासियत ये थी कि उन्होंने लेंस के, कुछ लेंस के बदले में मिरर का यूज किया था।
जी
और आपने सेशन के शुरू में बताया कि 2008 में 350-400 सालों के बाद लेंस में अब वो मिरर यूज हो रहा है। तो it took back to Newton. So I will finish this. There must be much more eloquent comments coming.
sir, if I can, if I understood you correctly, let me just actually 2008 में जो मैंने मेंशन किया, वो लेंस मिरर तो कैमरा में बहुत पहले आ गए थे। आई डोंट नो एग्जैक्ट डेट। 2008 में डिजिटल कैमरा का एक नया वर्जन आया जिसको मिररलेस कैमरा कहते हैं। उन्होंने मिरर हटा दिया कैमरे से।
वो अच्छा गुड।
हाँ, वो
So
उसको मिररलेस कैमरा कहते हैं। एंड डिजिटल कैमरास एक्चुअली विथ मिरर्स आर बीइंग फेज्ड आउट।
okay. So Ashutosh, I have nothing more to say except that this session triggered in me, inspired me to write an article only based on this session. And of course, इतने हार्ट्स तो किसी सेशन में लाइव में हम लोगों ने नहीं देखे थे।
Oh,
थैंक यू,
yes.
क्या बोलूं, इट वाज अ वेरी इंस्पायरिंग सेशन, वेरी प्रोफेशनल, लॉट्स ऑफ हार्ड वर्क हैड गॉन इनटू इट एंड द रिसर्च। एक्सेलेंट प्रेजेंटेशन दिलीप
सर
जी।
क्या करें, राकेश जी ने मेरे दिमाग में कीड़ा डाल दिया। मैंने बहुत निकालने की कोशिश की क्योंकि स्वभाव से मैं आलसी हूँ, लेकिन वो गया नहीं। तो उसी का ये परिणाम है कि आप लोगों को ये भुगतना पड़ा आज।
नहीं, भुगतने की तो बात ही नहीं है सर, ऐसा भुगतना तो हम बार बार चाहेंगे।
बार बार चाहेंगे,
बिल्कुल
एग्जैक्टली।
बिल्कुल।
थैंक यू सर।
आशुतोष और ये राकेश जी बहुत कीड़ा डालते हैं। सो आशुतोष, ऑल योर्स।
आई नो दैट अभी हैंड्स रेज और हुए नहीं है, पर आई डोंट नो हाउ वेदर आई कैन सी देम और नॉट। पर एक पॉइंट मैं बोलना चाहूंगा सर, दिलीप सर, जो हमारा डिस्कशन हुआ था
जी
वो अफगान गर्ल वाली फोटो के बारे में, तो थोड़ा सा बोलना चाहूंगा उसके बारे में। एक्चुअली
जी जी जी।
थोड़ा बहुत मैंने बहुत घाट घाट का पानी पिया है, तो कंप्यूटर विजन फील्ड में मेरा इंटरेस्ट था। कुछ काम मैंने किया था अपने पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन के दौरान। बाद में फिर मैंने पीएचडी करने की सोची, तो आई कंटिन्यूड विद दैट। तो ये सब जानकारी मेरे एक परिचित थे, उनको किसी को थी, तो उन्होंने मुझे एक बार इनवाइट किया था। फैकल्टी डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम होता है वहाँ पे, एमिटी यूनिवर्सिटी है यहाँ पे गुड़गांव में। तो they invited me there. I had given a presentation on evolution of computer vision, जो कि मैंने सोचा था कभी इस ग्रुप में भी ऐसा करूंगा, लेकिन थोड़ा वो डिफरेंट ट्रैक पे चला गया इसलिए। तो एक स्लाइड है सर, इफ यू अलाउ मी टू शेयर माय स्क्रीन। आपने
एब्सोल्युटली
जो बात की
एब्सोल्युटली सर, एब्सोल्युटली सर।
उसी प्रेजेंटेशन से मैं ये स्लाइड
जी जी
शेयर कर रहा
बिल्कुल
हूँ।
आशुतोष जी, बिल्कुल।
सॉरी, अभी तक यही चल रहा है। ओ, ये अभी वही स्क्रीन चल रहा है, सो लेट मी स्टॉप दिस।
हाँ, यू कैन स्टॉप दैट।
I'll I'll go back. I'll open my presentation and then share the slide. Sorry about this, everyone. पर मेरी
नहीं नहीं, आई
मैं
थिंक वो उसको ठीक से बताना जरूरी है।
I couldn't stop myself from sharing this. Can everyone see my screen?
यस।
ओ यस, यस।
तो जैसा दिलीप जी ने कहा, this is a photograph which became so popular. This girl's photographs and her eyes primarily. और बाद में I don't remember the year exactly. When I gave the presentation, I remembered the year also when the search started for this girl. And I think this photo, sir, if I'm not wrong, this photo was taken during Soviet invasion, when Soviets were still there in
I
Afghanistan.
am, because what I read was this was taken by him in 1984 when he had come here. Could be 1 or 2 years here and there. I'm not too sure about it.
Yeah, I maybe I'm wrong, but
No,
probably
no,
Soviets were
I
still there.
possible.
Soviet,
Maybe, yes. Maybe.
Soviets were still there. So this girl, and then the photo becomes, I think it was published in National Geographic magazine
Yeah,
also.
it was on the front
Yeah.
page of National Geographic cover.
Yeah,
On the cover.
on the cover page, cover page.
Hmm.
So then the search started, and when this thing, the word spread, there were many claimants. Claimants probably for the greed of money or something that will
Oh,
be,
acha,
or
acha,
popular,
okay.
or popularity or whatever. So then final zeroing on was done, or identification using the computer vision based biometric techniques, whereby
Yes.
the
Yeah,
iris pattern was analyzed, and then it was matched. And what you see on the right side was the photo when it was taken for the second time and the girl was re-identified. So I don't have much of story behind this right now, how all this was done or who identified and who took the photograph. But this is what I found and I had shared in that presentation. So that's the story I discussed with you. Right. I'll stop here. Okay, sir. So any other comments, questions, or anything that anybody would like to share here?
Yes.
Yeah. Pravesh, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, sir.
कुमार प्रवेश जी कुछ बोलना चाहते हैं।
नमस्कार जी, नमस्कार। दिलीप, पहले तो माफी मांगू यार कि मैं आई वाज स्टक इन बैंड्रा, और जब घर यहाँ पहुंचा तो काफी कुछ निकल चुका था, और 10 मिनट मुझे लगे मुझे वो इसमें वो साइन में बड़ा दिक्कत, क्योंकि मैं टेक सेवी नहीं हूँ आप लोगों की तरह। लॉग इन करना बड़ा मुश्किल हुआ था। एनीवे, so first, big clap for you. I mean, it's और
Thank
मुझे
you.
याद
Thank
है
you,
कि
Kumar.
थैंक्स टू यू, तुम्हारे मोटिवेशन की वजह से मैं प्रयागराज गया था। जिंदगी में पहली बार फोटोग्राफ
That
करने के
was a
लिए हम दोनों गए
magical
थे।
trip.
हम दोनों गए थे और उसमें कहानी हुई थी। वो वैसे फोटोग्राफी से तो संबंधित नहीं है, लेकिन बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग है। अगर तुमने मना किया था भाभी जी को नहीं बताने के लिए, बट यहाँ पे तो
नहीं
भाभी
नहीं,
जी नहीं है।
वो बात पुरानी हो गई. आप बता सकते हैं.
अच्छा तो हम दोनों, अब ये तो मुझे स्टिल फोटोग्राफी उतना नहीं है, मुझे बस शौकिया खींचता रहता थोड़ा बहुत। बट जिस डेप्थ के साथ और प्रोफ्यूज भी जो दिलीप करता है वो तो कमाल की बात है। और तो मैं तो ज्यादातर वीडियोग्राफी में, क्योंकि मैं कॉर्पोरेट फिल्म्स एंड ऑल दैट मूवी पिक्चर्स में ज्यादा इंटरेस्टेड हूँ। तो इसने कहा कि सडनली बोला कि आई थिंक 2018 या 19 में जो
19,
महाकुंभ लगा था,
2019, 2019
में लगा
अर्धकुंभ
था।
में गए थे हम लोग. हाँ.
तो इसने कहा यार यार कभी गए चलो, उसको फोटोग्राफी करने का मन करता है। तो ठीक है, बस दैट वाज आई मीन मेरा कोई प्लान नहीं था। बस गए हम। मैंने कहा ठीक है। तो उस समय लकीली ओपी सिंह से पहचान हुई थी, जो यूपी का ये डीजीपी था उस समय, ही वाज इन चार्ज। तो आई कॉल हिम। तो उसने उस समय तो उठाया नहीं, शाम में फोन आया। हाँ बोलो भाई। हमने देखो यार मुझे आना है, और मुझे और दिलीप को आना है इसमें कुंभ को फोटोग्राफ करने। तो वो बहुत बड़ी भीड़ बड़ी होती है, तो जरा कुछ हेल्प कर सकते हो? हाँ हाँ, आ जाओ जाओ। बस उसने शर्त लिखी कि भाई एक शर्त पे आओगे, पहले तुम दोनों लखनऊ आओगे, उसके बाद फिर वहां जाओगे। एनीवे टू कर द स्टोरी शॉर्ट, हम वहां से चले और फिर आखिरी फेज में हम पहुंचे बनारस। और और हम ट्रेन से आए थे। तो ट्रेन से हम आए और होटल में गए। होटल में चेक इन कर ही रहे थे, सडनली दिलीप बोलता है अरे यार मेरा कैमरा बैग तो है ही नहीं। तो हमने क्या फोटोग्राफी करने आए इतनी दूर से 1500 किलोमीटर से, कैमरा बैग है ही नहीं। तो बोला तक ट्रेन में छूट गया। एज अ रिफ्लेक्स मैंने कुछ सोचा नहीं, तुरंत चलो कम, जंप इन द कार और चलो स्टेशन चलो। और थैंक्स टू ओपी
I
सिंह
had
हमारे साथ।
lost hope. I had lost complete
या
hope.
हमने कहा बस एक कुछ मतलब पागल की तरह चलो। और थैंक्स टू ओपी की हमारे साथ एक गनमैन भी था, एक सिपाही था अपने साथ में। तो वो जिंदगी में पहली बार मुझे एक वीआईपी वाला फीलिंग हुआ कि जैसे होता है पॉलिटिशियन लोग पीछे पीछे गनमैन होता है, तो वो वाला फीलिंग हम लोग को हो रहा था। वो गए, सीधे दौड़ के गए और पता किया कहाँ कौन सा प्लेटफॉर्म पे। तो लकीली वो ट्रेन अभी तक लगी हुई थी, जबकि इसमें कम से कम एक आध घंटा तो चला ही गया था। और हम बिल्कुल उस बोगी में पहुंचे और वहां पे वो लोग मिले।
वो
और
याद है तुमको, अनिल सिंह था जो रेलवे वाला.
हाँ अनिल
उसने,
सिंह, हाँ हाँ,
हाँ, उसको भी फोन किया था हम लोगों ने.
या फोन की, हाँ राइट।
याद है. हाँ.
तो वो भी कोऑर्डिनेशन हुआ और पहुंचे। और वो जो वो पिलो और चादर वाली करता था, तो उसको बोला हाँ हाँ एक तो बैग मिला है, ऐसा जो भी। हमने ठीक है चल। तो पर वो पुलिस वाला वहां भी आ गया, पीएफ वाला। तो बोला कि सर नहीं, उनको लगा कि भाई हम कोई बड़ा वीआईपी है। बोला सर वो हैं, उन्हीं का है, इसको वो कर मतलब कोई कागजी कार्रवाई करने की जरूरत नहीं है, उनका गनमैन भी साथ में है। तो गनमैन ने सारा काम कर दिया और हमें वो बैग मिल गया। दिलीप और हम वापस कैमरा लेके हम पहुंचे, और उसके बाद हम बनारस वाला की फोटोग्राफ तो जो बनारस के आपने कुछ फोटोग्राफ देखे भी है, थैंक्स टू दैट गनमैन की हो गया था वो। एंड
I will always be grateful to you and Anil Singh for that.
अरे नहीं है एंड
नहीं,
बट
कैमरा तो वो दुख चला जाता, पर वो फोटोज का मुझे ज्यादा दुख होता.
या क्योंकि अभी इतने लिए थे फोटो, माय गॉड, वहां से लखनऊ में भी, और फिर ये
इलाहाबाद, बनारस.
कुंभ के बाद हम बनारस पहुंचे काफी लग। तो दैट वाज एंड बट ये बहुत सारे एग्जीबिशन। मैं तो आज लगा कि मैं वाकई आज मैं जहांगीर आर्ट गैलरी में ही बैठा हुआ हूँ और देख रहा हूँ एग्जीबिशन तुम्हारा और सारे मास्टर्स के जो देखे मैंने। तो it was really very joyful experience. But the only thing was that I missed by the first half. वो अब आशुतोष जी की कृपा से फिर मैं वीडियो देख लूंगा उसके बाद में। but but thanks for this presentation, बढ़िया, बहुत अच्छा।
Thank you,
Thank
Kumar.
you, sir. Uh, राजचंद्र झा सर, डॉक्टर साहब कुछ बोलना चाह
अवधेश
रहे थे, और अवधेश जी का भी हाथ है।
अवधेश जी
सॉरी,
अवधेश जी
अवधेश जी,
बोल रहे
अवधेश जी, यू कैन अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ।
हाँ, सबसे पहले तो इट वाज सिंपली ऑसम। दो तीन चीजें जो बहुत छुआ दिल को। पहला तो ये कि दिस वाज वन ऑफ द बेस्ट स्टोरी टेलिंग along with lot of, you know, I would say personal touches and also teaching. So for me it became a very interesting learning session. और लगा ही नहीं कि ये फोटोग्राफी पे सेशन है, लगा बहुत चीजें कवर हो रही है साथ साथ। एंड ब्यूटीफुल प्रेजेंटेशन एंड द वे यू स्पोक दिलीप जी एंड द स्टोरी दैट यू wove around it was so captivating. So that is another part in addition to your photography skill which was exhibited. The second thing is the interesting story of the gunman and the camera. Anyway, cameraman gunman दोनों ही shoot करते हैं। तो very interesting story by Kumar. It was nice to hear that. And third thing was, again, many things, but I won't speak much. The last photograph of yours where you're saying thank you for your patience. वो तस्वीर किसने खींचा है?
सर वो तस्वीर क्या है कि मैं थोड़ा एआई पे एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहा था,
अच्छा अच्छा।
तो वो पार्टली मेरी खींची हुई है और पार्टली उसको एआई में थोड़ा सा वो किया है। Well, I am doing some experiments with photographs on AI parallelly also. This is basically a frivolous one. I'm trying to do something more on that. In fact, I'm trying to take a subscription model of AI.
Oh wow. क्योंकि वो, if the way I looked at it was a portrait completely defining the Dileep ji that I have known from the day one. I have heard of you and seen you and interacted. It is absolutely a story, and it looks and it portrays you, your personality, your art, your humility, your so much of dignity. I mean, so respectful. तो मैं सोचा कि मैं ये बात जरूर बोलूंगा कि ये आखिरी भी जो even the last slide has spoken a story. Thank you very much. Very intriguing session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Avdesh.
Okay, I think any other comments, any other insights from anyone?
नहीं, आज कहने को कुछ नहीं है। इतिहास, this is the way history should be taught.
Yes,
अगर आप एक सेशन करें हिस्ट्री ऑफ फोटोग्राफी
जी,
या अन्य दूसरे विषय में, तो this is the way it should be taught. Absolutely mesmerizing. एक सेकंड आपका ध्यान इधर से उधर नहीं गया, and it has been a long session. So if the speaker or the teacher can capture the attention of the listeners, the students, or the learners, that's the greatest tribute that you can pay to the speaker. Wonderful session, wonderful. After a long time
Thank you,
we have
Dr.
met,
Sir.
and it was worth. It has been worth spending almost 1.5 hours, and I never wanted it to end. And that is the
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
wonderful.
Sir, if I'm allowed to speak, एक तो शानदार सेशन था, बहुत सा चीज अनजाने चीज को, क्योंकि हमारे पिताजी को भी काफी शौकीन थे, और आप कोडक कैमरा का जो मॉडल दिखाए थे, मुझे याद पड़ता है उस तरह का बॉक्स टाइप कैमरा था उनके पास।
जी बिल्कुल।
काफी श्रीनगर वगैरह में खींचे थे, रामेश्वर में एक्सेट्रा। बट आपने जो एक क्रोनोलॉजिकल ऑर्डर में दिखलाया, वो चीज फैंटास्टिक है। वो हम लोग के लिए पॉसिबल नहीं था उस तरह से किसी चीज को ऑर्गेनाइज वे में देखना। मेरा सर थोड़ा बहुत इंटरेस्ट है, मतलब एक जस्ट डैबलिंग। तो जैसे कि जब आउटडोर करते हैं तो उसके लिए आप पर्टिकुलर प्लेस तो चुनते ही होंगे कि किस जगह पर जाए तो वहां पर ले, फिर उसका समय चुनते होंगे कि किस समय वहां पर जाना हमको सही रहेगा। दिस इज वन थिंग सर। अनदर थिंग इज कि जब आप जैसे कुछ मूविंग ऑब्जेक्ट का भी आपने दिखलाया और किसी पर्टिकुलर मोमेंट का, तो जब हम लोग भी जाते हैं कहीं पर तो लगता है कि दैट्स इट, कि ये चीज होना चाहिए, मतलब वेल
जी
फोटोग्राफ
जी
या ये
जी।
मोमेंट है। तो उसको कैसे, मतलब आप एज ए फोटोग्राफर, एज ए एक्सपर्ट फोटोग्राफर, कैसे उसको जज कर लेते हैं, जो कि हम लोग से मिस हो जाता है, बाद में लगता है जैसे जस्ट लाइक आइरिस ऑफ दैट अफगान गर्ल, तो उस तरह का मोमेंट से, या जो ये सिलाई मशीन कैरी कर रहा था, उस तरह का मोमेंट्स जो, तो वो मोमेंट्स को कैसे मतलब कि भाप लेना है, क्योंकि वो मोमेंट बीत जाएगा। तो दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एज ए फोटोग्राफर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू। तो थोड़ा सा सर इसमें बताइए, फिर बाद में हम लोग बात कर सकते हैं, काफी विलंब हो चुका है।
गुप्ता जी, आप क्रिकेट के शौकीन हैं?
जी सर।
हाँ। और तो बैट्समैन जब होता है और वो, मतलब आप तो जानते हैं, वो फ्रैक्शन ऑफ सेकंड टाइम मिलता है बॉलर के हाथ से, खासतौर पे अगर कोई फास्ट बॉलर कर रहा हो और उस तक आने में। तो और वो हम देखते हैं कि वो उसके हिसाब से, अगर सचिन तेंदुलकर बैटिंग कर रहा हो तो कौन सी बॉल छोड़नी है, कौन सी बॉल कैसे खेलनी है, किसको डिफेंड करना है, किसको शॉट मारना है। तो उसमें दो तीन चीजें होती हैं। एक तो उनकी, मतलब अभ्यास। इस अभ्यास में मुझे याद आया कि एक फोटोग्राफर्स ने कहा था कि तुम अपनी पहली 1000 फोटो तो फेंक दो, तो किसी काम की नहीं होंगी। तो कोई भी चीज, मतलब जब आप अभ्यास करते हैं तो धीरे 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 आप में एक, उसका क्या कहते हैं, इंस्टिंक्ट डेवलप होने लगता है। तो जैसे कई बार होता है कि मैं जाता हूँ और मैं कोई बड़ा फोटोग्राफर नहीं हूँ, पर वो कभी कभी क्या होता है कि जब आप ज्यादा फोटो लेंगे, जैसे क्रिकेट के बारे में बताया, तो आप में एक सेंस डेवलप होने लगता है जिसको हम लोग कहते हैं फोटोग्राफिक आई।
यस।
तो आप मतलब चीजों को इस तरह से इंस्टिंक्टिवली, वो सोचना नहीं पड़ता, वो कंप्यूटर से भी तेज होता है। वो आपको लगेगा कि हाँ, इसकी ऐसे फोटो अच्छी आएगी, क्योंकि आपके पास टाइम नहीं है उसी समय के अंदर खींचना है उसमें। तो वो एक, आई थिंक, अनडिफाइनेबल प्रोसेस है। देयर इज सर्टेन अमाउंट ऑफ, आई थिंक, ऑफ कोर्स एप्टीट्यूड इज इन्वॉल्वड इन इट, एंड देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ प्रैक्टिस। एवरीथिंग इज बेसिकली काउंट्स विद प्रैक्टिस। सो, और दूसरी बात जो आपने पहली, सॉरी, पहली बात जो कही थी कि जगह चुनना, कौन सा टाइम, ये वो अनफॉर्चुनेटली मेरे साथ बहुत कम हुआ है, क्योंकि वो लग्जरी बहुत कम है कि मैं पहले जाऊं, जगह को देखूं, फिर डिसाइड करूं कि अच्छा सूरज किस तरफ से आएगा, कहाँ होगा। वो नॉर्मली मेरी ज्यादातर फोटो जो है, बहुत ज्यादातर, वो फैमिली ट्रिप में फैमिली के साथ है। और फैमिली ट्रिप में, मतलब अगर फैमिली चल रही तो कभी कभी ऐसा करता हूँ मैं उनसे बोलता हूँ मुझे आधा घंटा तुम अकेला छोड़ दो, तुम लोग जाओ, घूमो फिरो, जस्ट लीव मी अलोन। वो होता है कभी कभी, पर मोस्टली क्या होता है, मैं उनके साथ ही ट्रैवल कर, जैसे वो जूनागढ़ वाली मैंने आपको जो फोटो दिखाई थी, वो मैं, हम लोग गाड़ी से जा रहे थे, मुझे दिखी, मैंने बेटे से कहा कार रोको रोको रोको, सारे लोग जितने थे मुझे घूर के देख रहे थे। मैं उतरा, मैंने 2 मिनट में कंपोज किया, फोटो लिया और मैं बैठ के आ गया। तो वो एक ऐसा होता है। पर जो प्रोफेशनल्स है वो तो काफी टाइम स्पेंड करते हैं इस पर, रेकी करते हैं जगह को, सब करते हैं, लाइट कहाँ से आएगी, कैसे आएगी, कहाँ कैमरा सेट करेंगे, क्या करेंगे, वो है। पर हम लोग, मतलब शांता सुखाए आदमी है, अपनी खुशी के लिए
नहीं
करते
सर,
हैं।
आप इसको बढ़ाइए, मैंने, यू हैव वेरी गुड आईज, इमोशंस, हैंड, तो इसको आप बढ़ाइए। लेकिन एक चीज हमको याद पड़ता है सर, हम लोग जब स्कूल एंड कॉलेज डेज में थे, तो क्रिकेट का मैगजीन्स आता था, स्टार स्पोर्ट्स, और एक दो और आता था, उसमें एक क्विज रहता था, फाइंड द बॉल, मतलब कि
जी जी जी
जब
जी
बैट्समैन खेल रहा है, वो
जी,
बॉल कहाँ पर है,
मुझे
बॉल को
याद है,
गायब
हाँ।
कर, रेड बॉल को गायब कर दिया जाता था।
जी जी जी,
और इंटरेस्टिंगली, मतलब जब हम लोग को जिसको पॉइंट करते थे, उसके ऑलमोस्ट अपोजिट डायरेक्शन में बॉल रहता था।
सही बात है, वो सही बात है।
जो भी पुराने देखते मैगजीन के शौकीन हैं, क्रिकेट के शौकीन हैं, उनको याद पड़ता होगा। तो वही चीज है सर, आपने सही बोला कि वो आई और वो जो सेंस, चलिए
जी।
ठीक है, प्रैक्टिस की ही बात है तो प्रैक्टिस पर ही छोड़ते हैं उसको।
नहीं नहीं, प्रैक्टिस तो चाहिए बिल्कुल। मतलब वो मुझे याद है, वो उसने कहा था कि अपनी 1000 फोटो तुम फेंक दो, वो जब थोड़ा समय होगा। और ये बात बहुत लोगों ने कही है कि अगर आप कविता लिखते हैं तो कम से कम पहले 1000 कवियों को पढ़िए, 1000 नहीं तो 100 को पढ़िए। अगर आप कहानी लिखना चाहते हैं तो पहले कम से कम 100 कहानियां पढ़िए। तो वो सच है, अभ्यास तो बहुत जरूरी है।
ये तो सर गुलजार साहब भी बराबर बोलते हैं, क्या कि आजकल कोई भी 4 लाइन का पंक्ति लिख के कोई गुलजार साहब का नाम चिपका देता है।
हाँ हाँ।
तो वो कहते हैं कि किसी भी कविता को लिखने के लिए कम से कम सैकड़ों कविता पढ़ना पड़ता है, तब जाके एक बनता
अभ्यास तो बहुत
है।
जरूरी है।
सही
अभ्यास तो
बात
बहुत,
है,
बिल्कुल।
सही बात।
तो ठीक है
कोई
सर,
ऐसा
लेकिन
आदमी नहीं है जो पहली बार कैमरा
अभ्यास।
उठाए और अच्छी फोटो खींच ले।
जी
वो,
जी
वो एक उदाहरण है। अगर 2 मिनट समय है तो मेरे ख्याल 9:30 हो गए हैं वैसे।
प्लीज कैरी ऑन।
अभी है,
नहीं,
यू
रघु
गो अहेड
रघु
अभी।
राय के बारे में है कि रघु राय जब पहली बार अपने बड़े भाई, जिनका मैंने जिक्र किया था, उनके यहाँ गए, तो उनके एक और फोटोग्राफर दोस्त थे, वो पंजाब के गांव से थे। वो लोग गांव गए और रघु राय ने अपने बड़े भाई से कैमरा मांग लिया, क्योंकि वो ज्यादातर वही सब बातें सुनते थे। और वो एक कैमरा जिन्होंने उन दोनों मुश्किल से जानते थे, लेके गए। और वहां गांव में उन्होंने एक फोटो खींची। वो फोटो उनके भाई को इतनी पसंद आई, वो उन्होंने टाइम मैगजीन में भेजी और वहां वो छप गई। दैट वाज, geniuses can always be there, but they are
Yes.
exceptions to rule.
कुछ होता है, इनबॉर्न टैलेंट है सम।
बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल
ओनली
सर।
प्रैक्टिस कैनॉट मेक अ तेंदुलकर और अ विराट कोहली और अ सुनील गावस्कर।
वो तो है, दैट स्पार्क हैज टू बी देयर।
बट हाँ, बॉर्न विथ टैलेंट किसी भी
और
प्रोफेशन
वैभव
में।
सूर्यवंशी।
एब्सोल्युटली,
हाँ,
एब्सोल्युटली
अभी
सर।
देखा जाए वैभव के लिए, अभी इट्स टू अर्ली टू से। अभी देखना पड़ेगा 1-2 साल उसको। मैंने जिनका जिक्र किया वो दे प्रूव देमसेल्फ ओवर डिकेड्स।
या
तो कुछ तो टैलेंट के साथ उनका जन्म हुआ था, ईश्वर प्रदत्त प्रतिभा होती है, उसको होन किया उन्होंने बाय डेडिकेशन एंड प्रैक्टिस। तो दोनों कंबाइन करके
बिल्कुल सर,
देन यू।
बिल्कुल सर। हम लोग ऐसे लोगों को भी जानते हैं जिनमें टैलेंट बहुत था, लेकिन वो चले
बहुत
नहीं।
बहुत पिछले 5 वर्षों का देख लीजिए ना, अपने अपने इंडियन क्रिकेट, दुनिया को देखने की जरूरत नहीं है, आए चमके और गायब हो गए।
जी।
कहाँ चला गया? उन्मुक्त चंद था, पृथ्वी 100, आजकल तो दिखते नहीं। उसमें से
सही
कुछ
बात।
बच्चे आगे निकल के, व्हेन विराट कोहली केम ही वाज सो रॉ, सो अभी भी अच्छा कर रहा है। टैलेंट तो बहुत था मुंबई में। विनोद कामली वाज नो लेस
ओ
टैलेंटेड देन
यस,
सचिन
ओ यस,
तेंदुलकर। इवन
ओ यस।
उनके गुरु शायद उनको बेटर रेट करते थे सचिन से। एंड ही ruined himself and सचिन excelled। और कुछ
हाँ
तीसरा,
वो तो
इसमें हम लोग ऐसे ही बात कर रहे हैं तो एक डेस्टिनी, भाग्य भी होता है,
सही बात।
बिल्कुल, वो भी है
तो
सब
वो भी
कुछ।
एक फैक्टर है।
जी
बिल्कुल
जी
झा जी, मैं भी ऐड करना चाहूंगा। आपने जो
जी
शब्द
जी।
कहा ना, वही मैं वही बोलना चाह रहा था कि वो टैलेंट और प्रैक्टिस एक्सपीरियंस तो है ही, टाइमिंग और वो लक और टाइम।
बिल्कुल,
जैसे कि
बिल्कुल।
नेशनल जियोग्राफिक में जो फोटो दिखाया तुमने, बहुत फेमस हुआ था, तो वो अफगान का
हाँ
गर्ल का।
हाँ हाँ।
एक और फोटो था जो मेरे दिमाग में बिल्कुल कील की तरह चुप गड़ गई है। वो था कि एक इसमें वाइल्ड लाइफ फोटोग्राफी था। उसमें एक हिरनी बिल्कुल दूर देख रही है, आंख इमोशनलेस उसकी आंखें हैं, और एक लेपर्ड उसको बिल्कुल गर्दन पे दांत बिल्कुल ऐसे है पड़ा हुआ है। और ये शायद आप लोगों ने देखी होगी, वो दैट वाज अवॉर्डेड फोटोग्राफ। एक लेपर्ड नीचे ऐसे बैठा हुआ और वो उसको बिल्कुल दांत गड़ाने के जस्ट 1 सेकंड पहले ऐसा लिया हुआ है। अब वो जो टाइमिंग है, वो बिल्कुल अभी पकड़ने झपटने वाला है, लेकिन वो फोटो देखने में लगता है कि दोनों खाली पोज कर रहे हैं, वैसा लगता नहीं कि वो अटैक हो रहा है।
कोरियोग्राफ
तो
नो।
वो फोटो, अब वो फोटो वो लक से ही मिलता है। हाँ, वो मसल मेमोरी और फ्रैक्शन ऑफ सेकंड में डिसीजन लेना वो अलग बात है ये, लेकिन वो लक से मिलता है। मेरे साथ भी ऐसा हुआ था कि जब मैं डॉक्यूमेंट्री बना रहा था, हाँ ये दिलीप ने देखी है वो डॉक्यूमेंट्री, है याद है? वो ये आस्पी ग्रुप ऑफ कंपनीज के फाउंडर पे बनाया था मैंने, तो मलाड आए थे। तो उनकी डेथ के लिए मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा था, मैं 2-3 वर्जन्स ले रहा था। एक तो होता है ना जो फिल्मों में होता है, दिया बुझा दो मर गया आदमी, है ना, टिपिकल क्लीशेड होता है। आई डिडंट वांट दैट। एक था उनके यहाँ वो झूला लगा हुआ था, तो झूला मैंने लिया उसको, और फिर उसके बाद स्टॉप फ्रेम करके फिर से उसको आदमी हटा दिया और लिया उसको। नेक्स्ट अर्ली मॉर्निंग में निकला था एक्चुअली लोकेशन हंटिंग के लिए, और मेरा कैमरामैन साथ में था। और ये तानसान रिवर के पास किनारे था। पूरा देखा, पूरा फॉग है, कंप्लीटली व्हाइट फॉग। और सडनली नो प्लानिंग, नथिंग, आइडिया आया कि अगर मैं इस आदमी को बैक से दिखाता हूँ, वो जा रहा है, एंड ही डिसअपीयर्स इन द फॉग, एंड दैट्स हाउ आई वांट टू शो द हिज डेथ। और फिर उसी हिसाब से मैंने वो कमेंट्री लिखी। तो दैट वाज अ न्यू थिंग, और ये कोई प्लान नहीं था, कुछ नहीं था। उस फॉग ने मोटिवेट किया कि यार जो गाना है ना कि एक धुंध से आना है, एक धुंध में जाना है, बस उसी को मैंने
संसार
वो
की हर सहका इतना
चिढ़ा
ही
दिया।
फसाना।
तो वही वही वो डाल, तो ये लक वाला फैक्टर भी है। और ऑब्वियसली अब जब आप मसल मेमोरी होती है, उसी तरह से ब्रेन में भी कुछ वैसी मसल मेमोरी होती है कि जो जो ट्रिगर कर देता है और आपको उस तरह का अप्रोप्रिएट आइडिया दे देता है, और आप उसको कार्यान्वित कर लेते हैं। तो जस्ट वांटेड टू शेयर दीज टू थिंग कि वो लक फैक्टर भी चाहिए और टाइमिंग। यस, अब जैसे वो झूले वाला है, वो जो बताया ना तुमने कि वो कैसे लिया होगा। ऑब्वियसली वो शटर स्पीड बहुत कम नहीं कर सकता था, तो उसके लिए, लेकिन एक झूले में एक पॉइंट होता है जब आप ना ऊपर जा रहे होते, ना नीचे आ रहे होते, एक फ्रैक्शन ऑफ सेकंड वो स्टैटिक होता है, और उस तरह उसको उसने ले लिया होगा। और ऑब्वियसली उस समय तो डिजिटल कैमरा था नहीं, अभी तो जितना हो सकता हम लेते जाते हैं, लेकिन वहां फिल्म रोल में बड़ा संभाल के लेना पड़ता था, और उसको क्लिक करना सेम एट दैट मोमेंट, जैसे कि वो जो लेपर्ड का जबड़े में वो हिरनी की गर्दन थी। वो भी देखिए नेशनल ज्योग्राफिक अगर आप ढूंढेंगे तो बहुत मिलेगा, वो कमाल का है, क्लासिक फोटोग्राफ। तो दिस इज व्हाट आई जस्ट वांटेड टू ऐड दैट। थैंक यू।
आशुतोष जी, हम लोग रैप अप करें।
यस सर, श्योर। सो थैंक यू वेरी मच, एंड बाद में मैं एक्सप्लेन करूंगा ग्रुप में। कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशन सर फॉर प्रूविंग मी रॉन्ग, आई वुड से दैट मच। और क्या प्रूव उन्होंने रॉन्ग प्रूव किया, मैं ग्रुप में मैसेज भेजूंगा। थैंक यू एवरीवन। राकेश जी, यू कैन स्टॉप रिकॉर्डिंग। थैंक यू फॉर दैट।
थैंक यू एवरीबॉडी।
Thank you. Thank you.